In this video tutorial, we'll demonstrate how to create work orders for equipment in Easy Maintenance, as well as use some of the other features relating to work orders and maintenance schedules. In this tutorial video, we'll show you how to view equipment maintenance by equipment date or usage, create equipment work orders for routine maintenance events, create equipment work orders for unscheduled emergency maintenance events, edit equipment work orders, close equipment work orders, print work orders, assign work orders to staff, and use the maintenance calendar. First, we'll discuss how to view maintenance events by equipment, date, or usage. First, click on the Maintenance Due button on the Easy Maintenance main menu. A window will pop up, which includes three buttons: by equipment, by date, and by usage. Basically, each of these buttons lets you view all of the scheduled maintenance events and work orders organized by equipment, by the date on which they're due, and by the usage at which they're due, respectively. First, we'll demonstrate how to view maintenance events by equipment. If we click on the By Equipment button, we'll be taken to the following window. Basically speaking, you use this window by clicking on a piece of equipment in the list here, and then viewing all of the maintenance events in this list right here. There are also a couple of search features which you can use to search for a particular piece of equipment. These are especially useful if you've entered a lot of equipment into Easy Maintenance and the list is long. The first feature lets you locate a piece of equipment by its equipment name, its internal control number, its manufacturer serial number, or its maintenance profile. To use this feature, first click in one of the circles named Equipment Name, Internal Control Number, Manufacturer Serial Number, or Maintenance Profile. Then, depending on what you selected, type the equipment name, internal control number, manufacturer serial number, or maintenance profile into the box to the right. Then click on the Locate button. If there's a piece of equipment currently entered in Easy Maintenance that matches your search term, it will be selected in the list below. The other search box you can use to search for a particular piece of equipment is the barcode search box, if the piece of equipment you're trying to locate in the software has a barcode label or sticker printed for it. To use this search box, first select whether the barcode you're scanning contains an internal control number or a manufacturer serial number by clicking on one of the circles called Internal Control Number or Manufacturer Serial Number. Then click in the box to the right and scan the barcode for the item you're trying to locate. Then hit the Return key. The piece of equipment in Easy Maintenance that corresponds with that barcode will be selected. As we mentioned earlier, you can view the maintenance events for a piece of equipment by clicking on it. All of the maintenance events for that piece of equipment will then be displayed in the list here. For each maintenance event, the following data items are shown, going from left to right. Work order number. If a work order has been created for this event, the number of the work order is shown here. If no work order has been created yet, no work order number will be displayed. As mentioned earlier, later in this tutorial video, we'll demonstrate how to create work orders for maintenance events. Assign to. If a work order has been created and it has been assigned to an employee, the name of the employee is displayed here. Maintenance type. What type of maintenance this scheduled event is. Frequency in days. How frequently this maintenance occurs in number of days. Next due date. When this maintenance is due to be performed. If the scheduled maintenance goes beyond the due date shown here will be shown in red text. Frequency in usage. How frequently this maintenance occurs in number of usage hours. Hours until next maintenance. The number of usage hours that must be logged for this piece of equipment until it is due for its next maintenance. When you're finished viewing maintenance due by equipment, click on the Close button at the lower right. Now, to view maintenance by date, click on the By Date button. This will take you to a window called the Maintenance Due Sorted by Date window, which shows you all of the maintenance events organized by the date on which they're due. In this window, you can see a list of all the maintenance events for all of the equipment you've entered into Easy Maintenance, sorted by the date on which they're due. For each maintenance event, the following data items are shown, going from left to right. Next due date, when this maintenance is due to be performed. If the scheduled maintenance goes beyond the due date shown here will be shown in red text. Work order number. If a work order has been created for this event, the number of the work order is shown here. If no work order has been created yet, no work order number will be displayed. Assigned to. If a work order has been created and it's been assigned to an employee, the name of the employee is displayed here. Internal control number. This is the internal control number for the piece of equipment for which this maintenance event is scheduled. Manufacturer serial number. This is the manufacturer serial number for the piece of equipment for which this maintenance event is scheduled. Equipment name. This is the equipment name or type of equipment for the piece of equipment for which this maintenance event is scheduled. Maintenance type. What kind of maintenance the scheduled event is. Frequency in days. How frequently this maintenance occurs in number of days. There are also a number of search features that you can use to search for maintenance events. The first and the top of the two is a search box which you can use to locate a piece of equipment if you know its manufacturer serial number, its internal control number, or you can locate a work order. To search for a piece of equipment, first click on one of the circles called Manufacturer Serial Number or Internal Control Number, depending on the search criteria you wish to use. Then click in the box to the right and type the equipment manufacturer serial number or internal control number, depending on what selection you choose. Then click on the Locate button. If there is a piece of equipment currently entered in Easy Maintenance that matches your search term, the first maintenance event for that piece of equipment will be selected in the list below. If you want to search for a work order, then click on the circle called Work Order Number. Then click in the box to the right and type the number of the work order which you want to search for. Then click on the Locate button. If a maintenance event has a work order matching the number you typed in the search box, it will be selected in the list below. The second search box lets you search for a piece of equipment if you have a corresponding barcode label or sticker printed for it, and you can also look up a work order by scanning it. To search for a piece of equipment, first click on one of the circles called Manufacturer Serial Number or Internal Control Number, depending on whether the barcode you're scanning contains a manufacturer serial number or an internal control number. Then click in the box to the right and scan the barcode. Then hit the Return key. If there is a piece of equipment currently entered in Easy Maintenance that corresponds with the barcode you scanned, the first maintenance event for that piece of equipment will be selected in the list below. If you want to search for a work order, then click on the circle called Work Order Number. Then click in the box to the right and scan the barcode at the top of the printed work order. If the work order you scanned is still open, it will be selected in the list below. When you're finished viewing maintenance due by date, click on the Close button to the lower right. Lastly, we'll demonstrate how to view maintenance events by usage. To do this, click on the By Usage button. This will take you to a window called the Maintenance Due Sorted by Usage window, which shows you all of the maintenance events organized by the amount of usage at which they're due. This window is basically the same as the one we just described, where you view maintenance due sorted by date, except that obviously the maintenance events here are sorted by usage instead of date. Click on the Close button at the lower right to exit from this window. Now we'll demonstrate how to create work orders for scheduled maintenance events for equipment in Easy Maintenance. First, you have to view maintenance either sorted by equipment, by date, or by usage. For this example, we'll create a work order while viewing maintenance sorted by equipment. So we click on the By Equipment button. Basically, to create a work order for a maintenance event, first you select the piece of equipment by clicking on it. Then you select the maintenance event by clicking on it. Then you click on the Create or Edit Work Order button. This opens up the window at which you create the new work order. Notice that the work order number that uniquely identifies the work order you're creating is shown at the upper right part of the window. Work order numbers are assigned in sequence. The first work order created by Easy Maintenance is assigned number 1. The second is assigned number 2, and so on. Most of the information necessary to create the work order is already filled in. At the top of the window, under the Equipment tab, the details of the piece of equipment for which you're creating the work order are filled in. If you click on the Customer tab, you can see the details of the customer to whom this piece of equipment belongs if you're servicing it for an outside customer. If you are not servicing it for an outside customer, this section will be blank. Below the Equipment and Customer data fields, and to the left, there are also 5 fields which describe notes about the work order, as well as who is creating the work order, who approved it, and to whom the work is actually assigned. Notes. This is where you enter any notes about this work order. Click inside the box to the right and type any notes you wish to leave. The checkbox next to the field in which you type the notes will be automatically checked to indicate that there are notes for this work order. Exceptions. This is where you indicate that there are changes made to what is usually prescribed in this maintenance. Click inside the box to the right and type any exceptions you want to note. The checkbox next to the field in which you type exceptions will be automatically checked to indicate that there are exceptions for this work order. Performed by. This field displays who created the work order and is automatically filled in with the username of the person who created it. Approved by. This field displays the person who approved the work order. The person approving the work order would click in this field, which causes a window to pop up prompting them for their username and password. After their username and password have been entered, that user's name will be displayed here as the person by whom this work was approved. Assign to. From this drop-down box, you choose the person to whom you want to assign to be responsible for the work indicated on the work order. To the right of the previous 5 fields are 4 pairs of data fields which relate to when the work was scheduled to be performed versus when it was actually performed. Completion date, scheduled, and actual. The left field in this pair shows the date on which the work was scheduled to be completed, while the right shows the current date. Days since last service, scheduled, and actual. The left field in this pair shows the number of days that were supposed to have elapsed since the last service for the equipment to be due for maintenance, while the right shows the number of days that have actually elapsed. Usage meter. The left field in this pair shows the number of usage hours that were supposed to have been logged for the equipment to be due for maintenance. In the right field, you type the amount of total usage hours for which the piece of equipment has been operated. This may include usage hours between the last log entry and when this work order was created. In other words, usage hours that haven't been logged yet, in which case Easy Maintenance will calculate the difference between the amount you enter here and the last log entry and automatically make a new log entry containing that difference. Otherwise, you can simply enter the amount that is contained in the log usage meter reading field above. Usage since last service. The left field in this pair shows the number of usage hours that were supposed to have been logged since the last time this piece of equipment was serviced for the equipment to be due for maintenance. The right field shows the actual amount of usage hours that have been logged since the last service. To the right of these 4 pairs of fields is the date on which the next scheduled maintenance is due, along with a few options that allow you to choose whether or not the maintenance will be scheduled on a weekend day or not. Click on the circle called All Days Valid to allow scheduling on a weekend day if necessary. Click on the circle called Saturday, Sunday Excluded to disallow scheduling on either weekend day, or click on the circle called Sunday Only Excluded to disallow scheduling on Sundays but allow on Saturdays. In any case, if the scheduled maintenance is scheduled to fall on a day on which maintenance is disallowed to be scheduled, the maintenance will be scheduled on the last day possible before the day or days on which scheduling is disallowed. The date displayed will be changed to reflect the adjusted schedule if rescheduling is necessary. Also on the work order window are 4 fields in which you can record the man-hours worked for this maintenance, the cost of the hours worked, the cost of the parts and materials used in this maintenance, and the amount of time the piece of equipment had to be taken offline to perform the maintenance. Click in any of those fields and type the desired values. However, the parts and materials cost is automatically calculated by Easy Maintenance and filled in, although it may be changed if you need to. See the video 4.1 Tracking and Controlling Your Inventory for information on entering items into inventory and setting their respective costs. Below those 4 fields, you'll see 3 more fields that display the maintenance profile for the piece of equipment for which the work order is being created, the type of maintenance that's being performed, and the frequency at which this maintenance occurs. As you can see, at the bottom of the work order, the materials, operations, and replacement parts that you specified in this maintenance type are all displayed. Click on the Materials, Operations, and Parts tabs to see the materials, operations, and replacement parts, respectively. You can also edit the materials, operations, and replacement parts used in the work order. In cases where you actually have to replace a part, this is necessary. Click on the Edit button to the right of the list of materials, operations, and parts. This will open a new window where you can edit the materials, operations, and replacement parts on the work order. This is done in the same manner in which you add materials, operations, and parts to a maintenance type in a maintenance profile. See video 2.1 Setting up the Equipment Maintenance module for information on creating maintenance profiles and specifying what materials, operations, and parts are needed in the maintenance types that compose a maintenance profile. In some instances, however, you may actually need to replace a part because it has failed, or because it has not passed an inspection, which perhaps you may have included in the list of operations. To do this, click on the Checklist of Parts to Service tab. Then locate the part you need to replace in the list and click on the space under the Replace column to reveal a drop-down box. Select Replace from the drop-down box. Then enter the quantity of the part you're replacing in the space under the Quantity column. Now, the quantity of the part which you're replacing will automatically be deducted from inventory, although, as you will see shortly, you can override this automatic deduction later if you want to. When you're finished editing the materials, operations, and parts for the work order, click on the OK button to save your changes, or click on the Cancel button to cancel and discard any changes you've made. Now, when you've finished entering all of the information for the work order, click on the OK button to create the work order. When you click OK, 2 windows in succession will pop up, asking you if you want to update the totals in inventory to reflect the items which you've used in the work order. The first one asks you if you want to update the materials inventory. The second asks if you want to update the replacement parts inventory. Click Yes if you want to deduct the parts from inventory, and click No if you do not want to deduct the items from inventory. Notice that the maintenance event now has a work order number to indicate that a work order has been created for it. Now we'll demonstrate how to create an unscheduled work order for events such as unexpected equipment breakdowns. In other words, these are work orders that are not part of a regular maintenance schedule, but rather they're created as the need arises. Just like when creating a regular scheduled work order, to create an unscheduled work order, you have to view maintenance either sorted by equipment, by date, or by usage. For this example, we'll create an unscheduled work order while viewing maintenance sorted by equipment, so we click on the By Equipment button. Then, click on the New Unscheduled Work Order button. This will open the window at which you create the unscheduled work order. At the top right corner of the window, you'll see a field called Work Order Number that displays the number that this work order has been assigned. First, you must select the piece of equipment for which you want to create the unscheduled work order by selecting either its internal control number from the Internal Control Number drop-down menu, or its manufacturer serial number from the Manufacturer Serial Number drop-down menu. Notice that the other fields automatically fill in with information about the piece of equipment you've selected. Below these data fields, there are also 4 fields which describe notes about the work order, as well as who is creating the work order and who approved it. Notes. This is where you enter any notes about this work order. Click inside the box to the right and type any notes you wish to leave. The checkbox next to the field in which you type the notes will be automatically checked to indicate that there are notes for this work order. Exceptions. This is where you indicate that there are changes made to what is usually prescribed in this maintenance. Click inside the box to the right and type any exceptions you want to note. The checkbox next to the field in which you type exceptions will be automatically checked to indicate that there are exceptions for this work order. Performed by. This field displays who created the work order and is automatically filled in with the username of the person who created it. Approved by. This field displays the person who approved the work order. The person approving the work order would click in this field, which causes a window to pop up prompting them for their username and password. After their username and password have been entered, that user's name will be displayed here as the person by whom this work was approved. To the right, there is a field displaying the date on which this work order is being created. Below that, there's a checkbox called Closed, which you can click on to close this work order, which we'll discuss later. Also on the work order window are 4 fields in which you can record the man-hours worked for this maintenance, the cost of the hours worked, the cost of the parts and materials used in this maintenance, and the amount of time the piece of equipment had to be taken offline to perform the maintenance. Click in any of these fields and type the desired values. However, the parts and materials cost is automatically calculated by Easy Maintenance and filled in, although you may change it if you need to. Now, unscheduled work orders are created from scratch and are not for a specific kind of maintenance per se. As such, you'll need to select what kind of maintenance this work order will contain. You can do this by selecting the type of maintenance you want to prescribe from the Maintenance Profile and Type drop-down boxes. Again, for more information on creating maintenance profiles, see video 2.1, Setting up the Equipment Maintenance module. As with creating a work order for a scheduled maintenance event, you can also edit the materials, operations, and replacement parts used in the work order. This is done by clicking on the Edit button to the right and is done in the same manner as when changing the materials, operations, and replacement parts when creating a scheduled work order. In many cases, however, you may need to do something very specific to repair a piece of equipment that is not prescribed by any of your existing maintenance profiles and types. For this, it's recommended to create a blank maintenance profile. A blank maintenance profile is simply a maintenance profile with one maintenance type which contains no materials, parts, or operations. Typically, a maintenance profile like this is called something similar to unscheduled maintenance. Selecting the blank maintenance profile for the unscheduled work order allows you to enter any materials, operations, or parts needed for this particular maintenance. See video 2.1, Setting up the Equipment Maintenance module, for information on how to create maintenance profiles. Once you've entered all of the information for the unscheduled work order, click on the OK button to save and create it. As when creating a scheduled work order, 2 windows will pop up asking if you want to delete the materials and parts used in the work order from inventory. Notice that the work order now appears in the list of maintenance events for that piece of equipment for which you created it. To edit a work order, first you must be viewing maintenance events either by equipment, by date, or by usage. For this example, we'll view maintenance events by equipment. Then find the work order you want to edit, whether it's a scheduled or an unscheduled work order, and select it by clicking on it. Then click on the Create or Edit Work Order button. A window will open at which you can edit the details about the work order. This window works like the one at which you created a new scheduled work order. When you're finished making changes to the work order, click on the OK button. Answer yes to whether you want to deduct items from inventory if you've made any changes to the materials or parts on the work order, and you want to deduct from inventory to reflect that. To close a work order, open up a work order for editing, as we've just described. Then, on the work order screen, click on the checkbox called Work Order is Closed. Then save the work order by clicking on the OK button. The work order will then be closed and will appear in the maintenance history. We demonstrate viewing the maintenance history in video 2.5, Equipment Maintenance History. To print your work orders, You can either print them individually or print many at once. To print them individually, open up a work order for editing, as we described before. On the right side of the window, you'll see a section of the window called Reports. This gives you the option to print the entire work order with all materials, operations, and replacement parts listed. Or you can print the work order with only the materials, only the operations, or only the replacement parts. Select one of the options called Full Report, Materials, Operations, or Parts, and then click on the Print Selected button. This will print the work order. To print multiple work orders at once, view maintenance events either by equipment, date, or usage. In the list of maintenance events, you'll see a column called To Print. Place a checkbox next to every work order which you want to print. You can also use the Select All Work Orders and Unselect All Work Orders buttons to select all work orders or unselect all work orders respectively. Then, after selecting whether you want to print the full work order or one with only the materials, only the operations, or only the replacement parts, click on the Print Selected Work Orders button. This will successively open up all of the work orders you checked for printing. There are two ways in which you can assign equipment work orders to users in Easy Maintenance. You can do it for individual work orders, or you can assign multiple work orders at once. To assign work orders individually, open a work order for editing. From the Assign To drop-down box, select the user to whom you want to assign the work order. Then click on the OK button to save the work order. To assign multiple work orders at once, click on the Assign Work Orders button here. This will open a window which lists all of the maintenance events for all of your equipment. To quickly create work orders and assign them to personnel, you must use the drop-down boxes under the Assign To column and the Assign button at the bottom of the window. To create a work order for a maintenance event and assign it to someone, first locate the maintenance event for which you want to create the work order in the list of upcoming and due maintenance events. Then look to the right for the drop-down box under the Assign To column. Click on the small arrow on the right side of the box to expand the list of people to whom you can assign the work order. Then click on the person whom you want to assign the work order. Next, click on the Assign button. Notice that the maintenance event you've selected now has a corresponding work order number under the WO number column. This means that the work order has been created and it is assigned to the person you selected. Repeat this procedure on any remaining maintenance events for which you want to create work orders and assign them to someone. Now, we'll demonstrate how to use the Equipment Maintenance Calendar in Easy Maintenance. This feature allows you to view what maintenance events for equipment are due on any given day. Click on the Calendar button to access this feature. This takes you to the Project Maintenance Calendar window. At the left side of the window is a list of all the equipment maintenance events that are scheduled for the day that is currently selected. This list shows only those maintenance events for which a work order has not yet been created. For each maintenance event, you can see the type of equipment which the maintenance is for, the type of maintenance that needs to be performed, the internal control number which identifies the equipment, and its manufacturer serial number. At the upper right-hand corner of the projected maintenance calendar window is a calendar. You can click on one of the days to select it, and the list of maintenance events on the left side of the window will be updated with the maintenance events that are due on that day. The day you selected will be highlighted in red text on the calendar itself, and it will also be displayed at the bottom of the window under the list of maintenance events. To move forward a week, click on the upper left-hand corner of the calendar. To move forward or backward by 1 year, click on the double arrow buttons at the top of the calendar. To move forward or backward by 1 month, click on the single arrow buttons at the top of the calendar. You can also go to any month of any year you wish by double-clicking on any of the days in the calendar, which will pop up this window. Click on the arrow on the right side of the drop-down box called Month, which will expand the list of months, and then click on the month you want to select. Then, in the box called Year, either click in the box and type the year which you want to select, or click on the up or down arrows on the right side of the box to advance the year forward or backward, respectively. Click OK when you've selected your desired month and year, or click Cancel to abort. Also notice that on the bottom left-hand corner of the window, there is a Notes box. You can leave notes for any day by selecting a day from the calendar and then typing Notes into this field. To leave notes, simply click inside the Notes box and then type your desired notes. Now, when the date is selected in the future, those notes will be displayed.